Commander Jake Morrison floated in the observation deck of Guardian 1, watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from up here. He had been stationed on the orbital defense platform for 6 months now, and the routine had become almost boring. Almost. His communication device beeped. Jake pressed the button and heard the voice of his second officer, Lieutenant Gary Palmer. "Commander, we are picking up something strange near Jupiter." Jake pushed himself toward the command center, moving quickly through the zero-gravity corridors. When he arrived, the screen showed data that made no sense. Energy readings were off the charts, far beyond anything human technology could produce. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. Gary pointed at the largest screen. "We detected these signatures about 10 minutes ago. They just appeared out of nowhere." "Sir, there are hundreds of them." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Get me Admiral Clark now." Within hours, every telescope and sensor in the solar system was pointed at Jupiter's orbit. What they saw changed everything. Massive ships, each one the size of a city, hung in space like dark clouds. They were not human ships. They were not like anything humanity had ever built. Dr. Lisa Chen stood in the Coalition Science Institute, staring at the images coming from the outer system. Her hands shook slightly as she zoomed in on one of the alien vessels. The design was strange, organic-looking, with curves and ridges that seemed almost alive. "This is First Contact," she whispered to her assistant. "We are not alone." But First Contact did not go the way humanity had dreamed. The alien fleet broadcast a message in perfect English, somehow having learned human language. The voice was cold and mechanical. "Primitive species of Sol 3. You will surrender your world and all colonies. Resistance will result in extinction. You have 12 hours to respond. We are the Krell Dominion. We have conquered 473 worlds. You will be 474. The message played on every screen across Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. Panic spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to respond. Admiral Henry Clark, the Supreme Commander of Earth's military forces, called an emergency meeting. "We need to try diplomacy first," Admiral Clark said, his weathered face tight with worry. "Send a diplomatic vessel. Maybe we can talk to them." Jake Morrison disagreed but kept quiet. He had a bad feeling about this. Earth sent 3 ships toward the Krell fleet. They were unarmed diplomatic vessels, broadcasting messages of peace and cooperation. The ships never made it halfway. Green energy beams cut through space and vaporized all 3 vessels in seconds. Hundreds of diplomats and crew members died without warning. The Krell broadcast another message. "Your answer has been received. The harvest begins." The alien fleet split into groups and moved with impossible speed toward the inner solar system. The first attacks hit Mars Colony 7 and the mining stations near the asteroid belt. Captain Danny Wright was leading a patrol near Mars when the Krell struck. "All fighters engage," Danny shouted into his comm system. His squadron of 12 fighters screamed toward the 3 Krell ships approaching the colony. The Krell ships were fast and their weapons were devastating. Danny watched 2 of his pilots explode in balls of fire. He gritted his teeth and fired everything he had at the nearest enemy ship. His missiles seemed to bounce off the alien shields. "Break off! Break off!" Danny ordered. But it was too late. 5 more fighters went down. Down on Mars Colony 7, Colonel Maria Santos was evacuating civilians to underground shelters. The colony alarms screamed as Krell weapons pounded the surface structures. Buildings collapsed and fires spread across the habitat domes. "Get everyone below ground," Maria shouted, helping an elderly woman toward the shelter entrance. An explosion knocked her off her feet. When she looked up, she saw a Krell landing craft descending through the smoke. The craft opened and creatures emerged. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, with forearms and armor that seemed to shift colors. Their faces had no features humans could recognize, just smooth surfaces with dark sensor organs. Maria raised her rifle and fired. The bullets hit but barely scratched the Krell armor. The aliens moved forward, raising weapons that looked like organic growths on their arms. "Fall back to the shelters," Maria ordered. Her troops retreated while firing, trying to buy time for the civilians. Back on Guardian 1, Jake Morrison watched the slaughter with growing rage. Mars Colony 7 was being overrun. The asteroid mining stations went silent one by one. The outer colonies sent desperate pleas for help that no one could answer. "We have to do something," Gary said quietly. Jake looked at the tactical display. Earth's defense fleet was scattered across the solar system. Most ships were days away from any meaningful position. The Krell were already inside humanity's defenses. "Get me every ship within 6 hours of Mars," Jake ordered. "I don't care if they are cargo haulers or pleasure yachts. Arm them with whatever we have." Admiral Clark's face appeared on the screen. "Morrison, I am ordering full military mobilization. Every nation, every colony, every able body. We are at war." Jake nodded. "Sir, request permission to take Guardian 1 off station. We need to help Mars." Denied. "Earth's orbital defense is critical. We cannot leave the homeworld unprotected." Jake wanted to argue, but he understood. If Earth fell, humanity was finished. Dr. Lisa Chen worked through the night, analyzing data from the destroyed diplomatic ships and long-range scans of the Krell vessels. She discovered something troubling. The Krell technology was centuries ahead of human science. Their ships could cross vast distances in hours. Their weapons could punch through any armor humanity possessed. Their shields were nearly impenetrable. "How do we fight something like this?" her assistant asked. Lisa did not have an answer. On Mars, Danny Wright regrouped with the 3 remaining fighters from his squadron. They were hiding in a canyon watching Krell ships patrol overhead. "We need a new strategy," Danny said. "Direct assault is suicide." One of his pilots, a young woman named Kelly Barnes, spoke up. "What if we don't fight fair? What if we use the terrain, hit them from ambush?" Danny considered this. The Krell seemed to rely on their superior technology. Maybe they were not expecting guerrilla tactics. "Worth a shot," Danny said. They waited until a Krell patrol ship passed low over the canyon. Then they struck from below, firing missiles into the ship's underside where the shields seemed weaker. The Krell ship lurched and crashed into the canyon wall. It was humanity's first kill of the war. Small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Commander Jake Morrison received the report and felt a spark of hope. The Krell could be hurt. They could be killed. It would take everything humanity had, but maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. The Krell main fleet continued its advance toward Earth. On the command deck of the lead vessel, the Overmind processed the data from the initial attacks. These humans were weak, but they fought with unexpected ferocity. Most species surrendered after the first demonstration of Krell power. These creatures kept fighting even when the outcome was certain. Interesting, the Overmind adjusted its strategy. This harvest would require more force than anticipated. The fleet accelerated, eager to crush this stubborn species and add Earth to the Dominion's conquered worlds. 2 weeks had passed since the Krell first appeared in human space. 2 weeks of constant fighting and dying. Mars Colony 7 was now a Krell stronghold. The asteroid mining stations were silent graveyards. Humanity had lost nearly 40% of its outer territory, and the alien fleet continued pushing toward Earth. Dr. Lisa Chen had barely slept since the war began. Her lab was cluttered with debris from destroyed Krell scout ships and equipment salvaged from battlefields. Every piece told a story, and Lisa was determined to understand what humanity was facing. She bent over a strange device pulled from a Krell ship, examining it with her instruments. Her assistant, a young scientist named Peter Grant, brought her another cup of coffee. "You need to rest," Peter said. "I will rest when we are not facing extinction," Lisa replied, not looking up from her work. She had made several disturbing discoveries. The Krell were not individuals in the way humans understood. They were drones, each one connected to a central intelligence. The connection was biological and technological at the same time, creating a hive mind that allowed perfect coordination across vast distances. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to a scan of Krell neural tissue. "They share thoughts instantly. Every Krell soldier knows what every other soldier knows. They never need to communicate because they are already connected. That is why they move so perfectly together," Peter realized. "Exactly. But there is more." Lisa pulled up another scan. "These structures here, they are receivers. The drones get instructions from somewhere else, from queen ships that control sectors of the fleet." Peter leaned closer. "So if we destroy the queen ships, the drones in that sector would lose coordination. They might even shut down completely." Lisa felt a surge of hope. "We need to get this information to Admiral Clark immediately." While Lisa worked in her lab, Captain Danny Wright was preparing for the most dangerous mission of his life. He stood in the briefing room of the Emergency Command Center in Colorado, looking at 12 other pilots who had volunteered for a suicide mission. "The mission is simple," Admiral Clark explained, his voice grave. A damaged Krell destroyer is floating in orbit near Earth's moon. It was hit by our nuclear missiles 2 days ago but did not completely break apart. We need someone to board that ship and retrieve its data cores. Danny looked at the images of the alien vessel. It was massive and still deadly even in its damaged state. "Sir, how do we get inside?" one pilot asked. "We believe there is a breach in the lower hull. You will fly modified shuttles through the breach and extract whatever data you can find. Intel suggests the Krell might still have active defenses inside, so expect resistance." Danny nodded. "When do we leave?" 1 hour. The flight to the Krell destroyer was tense and quiet. Danny led the 3 shuttles through the darkness, weaving between floating debris. The alien ship loomed ahead, dark and menacing. Sections of its hull glowed with dying energy. "There is the breach," Danny said, pointing to a massive hole in the ship's side. They flew through carefully, their lights cutting through the darkness inside. The interior of the Krell ship was strange and unsettling. The walls were organic-looking, with veins of some kind running through them. The air was thick with alien atmosphere that their suits protected them from. Danny's team moved quickly through the corridors, following the maps Lisa had provided based on her research. They found what they were looking for in what appeared to be a command center. Alien computers, if they could be called that, lined the walls. "Get everything," Danny ordered. His team attached extraction devices to the Krell systems and began downloading data. That was when the lights came on. Krell drones emerged from side passages, moving with frightening speed. Their weapons charged with green energy. Danny opened fire, his bullets sparking off alien armor. "Grab what we have and run," Danny shouted. The team sprinted back toward the shuttles, fighting every step of the way. 2 soldiers went down to Krell fire. Danny dragged 1 wounded man while laying down covering fire. They barely made it to the shuttles before the entire sector sealed itself off. The 3 shuttles exploded out of the breach just as the Krell destroyer's automated defenses came online. Energy beams chased them through space, but Danny's piloting skills got them clear. "Mission accomplished," Danny reported, breathing hard. "But it cost us. The data they recovered was invaluable." Lisa worked with Coalition intelligence to decode the Krell information. What they found changed everything. The Krell Dominion had conquered hundreds of worlds over thousands of years. They operated in a simple pattern: appear, demand surrender, and crush any resistance. Most species gave up immediately when they saw the size of the Krell fleet. Those that fought rarely lasted more than a few weeks. But the data also revealed the weakness Lisa had suspected. The Queen ships were critical. Destroy them and the drones lost their direction. The Krell had never needed to protect against this vulnerability, because no species had ever figured it out or survived long enough to exploit it. "We have a chance," Lisa told Admiral Clark. "A real chance." Meanwhile, on Mars, Colonel Maria Santos was leading guerrilla resistance against Krell occupation forces. Her troops had been driven underground, fighting from tunnels and hidden bases. They could not match Krell firepower, so they used hit-and-run tactics instead. Maria watched from a hidden position as a Krell patrol moved through the ruins of Colony 7. She counted 12 drones and 1 larger commander unit. Her team of 20 soldiers waited in the rubble, weapons ready. "Remember, aim for the joints in their armor," Maria whispered into her comm. "And when I give the signal, hit them from all sides at once." The Krell patrol walked into the kill zone. Maria raised her hand and then dropped it. Explosions erupted from multiple directions. Human soldiers poured fire into the confused Krell drones. The aliens tried to coordinate a response, but Maria's people were already moving to new positions. Within 2 minutes, all 12 Krell drones were down. The commander unit tried to retreat, but Maria put 3 grenades into its chest. It collapsed in a shower of sparks and alien fluids. "Collect their weapons," Maria ordered. "Anything we can use or study." Her team worked quickly. They had learned the Krell sent reinforcements within 10 minutes of losing contact with a patrol. The humans had to be gone before that happened. Back on Guardian 1, Commander Jake Morrison watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Krell main fleet was getting closer to Earth. They would be in striking range within days. The human defense fleet was assembling, but everyone knew the truth. In a direct battle, the Krell would win. Jake thought about the information from Lisa's research. The Queen ships were the key. But how could humanity get close enough to destroy them when the Krell fleet was so powerful? An idea began forming in his mind. It was crazy and desperate, but desperate times called for desperate measures. "Get me Admiral Clark," Jake said to Gary. "I have a plan, and he is not going to like it?" Jake's plan was simple in concept but terrifying in execution. Instead of waiting for the Krell to attack Earth, humanity should strike first. A fast strike force equipped with nuclear weapons could target the Queen ships before the main battle began. It would be a suicide mission, but it might give Earth a fighting chance. Admiral Clark listened to the proposal and was silent for a long moment. "You understand what you are suggesting? We would be sending our people to certain death." "I understand, sir. But if we do nothing, we are already dead. At least this way we hurt them." The Admiral looked old and tired. "Prepare your mission, Commander Morrison. I will find you volunteers. God help us all." Across human space, people prepared for what might be the final battle. Families said goodbye. Soldiers checked their weapons. Scientists worked on any edge they could find. Everyone knew the Krell were coming, and when they arrived, the real war would begin. In the depths of space, the Krell Overmind processed reports from the occupied territories. These humans were proving more troublesome than anticipated. They adapted quickly, learned from mistakes, and refused to accept defeat. No other species had shown such persistence. The Overmind made a decision. The humans would be made an example. Their world would be harvested completely, leaving nothing behind. Other species would learn what happened to those who defied the Krell dominion. The fleet accelerated toward the blue planet ahead. 1 month into the war and Earth stood on the edge of destruction. The Krell fleet had reached the inner solar system, their massive ships blotting out the stars. Every human colony beyond Earth was either destroyed or occupied. Now the aliens turned their attention to humanity's homeworld. Cities across Earth evacuated into underground bunkers built during the early days of the space age. Billions of people crowded into shelters, praying they would survive what was coming. Above them, the military prepared for the final defense. Dr. Lisa Chen stood in her laboratory, which had been moved deep underground beneath the Rockies. She was putting final touches on her most important creation, a weapon she called the resonance device. The machine hummed with power, its core pulsing with blue light. "Are you sure this will work?" Peter Grant asked nervously. "No," Lisa admitted. "But the theory is sound. The Krell hive mind operates on specific frequencies. If we can disrupt those frequencies, their coordination should break down. The drones will lose connection to their queen ships." "Should?" Lisa turned to face him. "Peter, I have never tested this on living Krell. The simulations look good, but I cannot guarantee anything. There's also a risk to humans. The resonance frequencies might affect our neural systems too. How bad could it be? Best case, temporary disorientation. Worst case, permanent brain damage." Lisa looked at her creation with mixed feelings. "But if we do nothing, everyone dies anyway." Captain Danny Wright had been promoted to commander of Phoenix Wing, an experimental fighter squadron equipped with the fastest ships humanity had ever built. His new fighters carried prototype weapons built from salvaged Krell technology and Earth's most powerful missiles. He sat in the briefing room with his 20 pilots, looking at the tactical display. The Krell fleet was arranged in orbit around the moon, preparing for their assault on Earth. Red markers indicated the locations of 5 Queen ships, each one controlling hundreds of drone vessels. "Our mission is to hit the Queen ships," Danny explained. "Dr. Chen's resonance device will disrupt their communications, giving us a window to strike. We go in fast, launch everything we have, and get out." "Questions?" Kelly Barnes raised her hand. "What are our chances, Commander?" Danny looked at her honestly. "Low, maybe 1 in 10 make it back. But if we succeed, Earth has a fighting chance." The room was quiet. Every pilot knew what they were signing up for. Finally, a veteran pilot named Scott Palmer spoke up. "When do we launch?" 6 hours. On the moon, Krell forces had destroyed the human bases and were using them as staging areas for the invasion. Colonel Maria Santos had been pulled from Mars and given command of Earth's ground defenses. She stood on the wall of New Chicago, watching the sky. The city had been transformed into a fortress. Weapons platforms lined every street. Soldiers manned defensive positions on rooftops and in buildings. If the Krell broke through the orbital defenses, this would be where humanity made its stand. Maria's second-in-command, Major Kyle Davis, approached with a data pad. "Latest reports show Krell landing craft are preparing to launch from the moon. We are expecting the first wave within 12 hours. How many?" "Thousands of craft. maybe 100,000 Krell soldiers in the first wave alone. Maria looked at the defensive positions they had prepared. Even with every advantage, they were outnumbered 10-1. Make sure every soldier has enough ammunition. When this starts, there will be no resupply. Commander Jake Morrison had moved his command post from Guardian 1 to an underground facility in Colorado. The orbital defense platforms had been sacrificed in delaying actions, buying time for Earth to prepare. Jake watched the screens showing the Krell fleet and felt the weight of command crushing down on him. Admiral Clark appeared on the main display. Morrison, we are authorizing use of the resonance device. Dr. Chen says she is ready. Sir, she told me there are risks to our own people. I know. But we are out of options. The Krell are beginning their assault. If we do not use every weapon we have, Earth falls by tomorrow. Jake understood. Yes, sir. Giving the order now, he opened a channel to Lisa's laboratory. Dr. Chen, you are cleared to activate the resonance device. Target the Krell battle group nearest Earth. Lisa took a deep breath and placed her hand on the activation control. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The device powered up with a sound like the universe screaming. Energy waves invisible to the eye but devastating to the Krell hive mind pulsed outward at the speed of light. They washed over the nearest Krell battle group, 200 ships strong. On those ships, the drones suddenly lost connection to their queen ship. For the first time in their existence, they were alone in their own minds. The sensation was terrifying and confusing. Ships veered off course. Weapons stopped firing. The perfect coordination of the Krell collapsed into chaos, but the weapon affected humans too. Soldiers across Earth's defensive lines grabbed their heads, crying out in pain. Some collapsed. Most recovered after a few seconds, but the effect was real and dangerous. Resonance device working, Lisa reported, her own head pounding. Krell Battle Group Charlie is disabled, but we are hurting our people too. How long will the effect last? Jake asked. On the Krell? Maybe 30 minutes before they adapt or their queen ship reestablishes control. On humans, the pain should fade quickly. 30 minutes, Jake repeated. Right, that is your window. Launch Phoenix Wing now! Danny Wright and his squadron launched from hidden bases on Earth's surface. Their fighters screamed into space, burning toward the confused Krell fleet. The alien ships were not firing, their drones still disoriented by the resonance device. All wings, pick your targets, Danny ordered. Make every shot count. The human fighters dove into the Krell formation. Missiles launched in waves, each one carrying a nuclear warhead. The Krell Queen ship in the center of the formation was slow to respond, its controlling intelligence struggling to reassert command over its drones. Danny armed his entire payload and aimed for the Queen ship's core. This is for everyone they killed, he said and fired. Nuclear fire blossomed in space as dozens of warheads struck the Queen ship. The massive vessel shuddered, its organic hull splitting open. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure. Then it exploded completely, taking 50 nearby drone ships with it. Queen ship destroyed, Kelly Barnes shouted over the comm, but the victory came at a cost. Krell ships that were farther from the resonance device effect began firing. Danny watched 3 of his fighters get cut down by enemy beams. He jinked his ship hard, avoiding fire by meters. All ships break off and return to base, Danny ordered. 12 fighters had launched. 7 made it back to Earth. On the ground, the Krell responded to the loss of one of their queen ships with fury. Landing craft launched from the moon by the thousands, carrying invasion forces toward Earth. They hit atmosphere like meteors, their hulls glowing red from the friction. Maria Santos watched them come and keyed her comm to all defensive positions. This is it, people. Hold the line. For Earth, for humanity, make them pay for every meter. The first Krell landing craft touched down on the outskirts of New Chicago. The doors opened and Krell shock troops poured out, four-armed and armored, carrying weapons that could cut through concrete. They advanced on the city in perfect formation. Human guns opened fire from every direction. Bullets, missiles, and energy weapons struck the Krell lines. Aliens fell, but more kept coming. The battle for Earth had begun in earnest. Maria led a company of soldiers in close combat, using the city streets as cover. She discovered that while Krell armor was strong, sustained fire could break through it. The aliens were powerful, but not invincible. Aim for the joints, she shouted. Concentrate fire! A Krell warrior charged her position. Maria emptied her rifle into its chest armor, the bullets finally punching through. The alien went down, black blood pooling around it. Commander Jake Morrison monitored the battle from his command center, moving forces to where they were needed most. The fight was brutal and desperate. Humanity was losing ground but making the Krell pay dearly for every victory. Admiral Clark's face appeared on the screen, grim but determined. "Morrison, we are holding for now. But they keep coming. How long can we last?" Jake looked at the tactical display, at the red markers representing Krell forces spreading across the planet. "As long as we have to, sir. We don't have any other choice." In orbit, the Krell Overmind processed the loss of a Queen ship with something approaching surprise. These humans had hurt the fleet, killed thousands of drones, disrupted the hive mind itself. No species had ever accomplished such a thing. The Overmind made a calculation. This war would be more costly than anticipated. But the outcome was still certain. The humans would be crushed. It was only a matter of time. The fleet moved closer to Earth, preparing for total extermination. 6 weeks of constant war had pushed humanity to the breaking point. Every major city on Earth had become a battlefield. The Krell held the northern hemisphere, while human forces fought desperately in the south. Millions had died on both sides, but the aliens kept coming. Commander Jake Morrison had not slept properly in days. He coordinated resistance efforts from the underground command center in Colorado, watching screens that showed humanity slowly losing ground. But something had changed in recent days. The Krell advance had slowed. They were winning, but not as quickly as they expected. "We are hurting them," Jake said to Gary Palmer, who had stayed by his side throughout the war. "Look at these casualty reports. For every human killed, we are taking down 3 Krell drones. They are not used to fighting enemies that refuse to quit." Dr. Lisa Chen had been refining the resonance device, making it more powerful and more targeted. The latest version could be carried by ground troops, creating localized disruptions in the Krell hive mind. She delivered the first batch to Colonel Maria Santos personally. "These portable units will scramble Krell communications within a 100-meter radius," Lisa explained, showing Maria the device. It looked like a large grenade with a digital display. "Throw it into a group of Krell and they will lose coordination for about 5 minutes. Maria examined the weapon carefully. 5 minutes is enough time to kill them all if we do it right." "There is something else you should know," Lisa said. "I have been studying captured Krell equipment and I noticed something. They operate less efficiently in cold temperatures. Their biological systems slow down below freezing." Maria's eyes lit up. "Are you saying cold weather makes them weaker?" "Significantly weaker. Their armor does not insulate well, and their movement becomes sluggish. I believe it is because they evolved on a hot planet. This information changed everything." Maria immediately contacted Jake with a new strategy. "Pull our forces back to the Arctic and Antarctic regions. Draw the Krell into terrain where they will be at a disadvantage." It was a risky move. Giving up more territory felt like defeat. But Jake understood the logic. "Do it. Order all forces to execute strategic retreat toward the poles. Make the Krell think we are running scared." The human retreat was organized and deliberate, but the Krell saw it as the beginning of final victory. They pursued eagerly, landing more troops in Canada, Russia, and Scandinavia. The aliens advanced into freezing temperatures, confident in their technological superiority. What they found was a nightmare. Human soldiers were prepared for the cold with thermal gear and heated weapons. The Krell were not. Their movements became slow and awkward. Their weapons took longer to charge, and the humans attacked from every direction, using the snow and ice as cover. Maria Santos led the defense of what remained of Oslo. Her troops hit the Krell with everything they had, using the portable resonance devices to scatter enemy formations before attacking with conventional weapons. "The frozen streets ran with alien blood. They are falling back," Kyle Davis reported, watching through his scope as Krell forces retreated from the city center. "Do not let them regroup," Maria ordered. "Press the attack!" While ground forces achieved victories in the cold, Captain Danny Wright made a discovery that would change the course of the war. Phoenix Wing had been conducting reconnaissance missions, mapping the Krell fleet's positions. During one mission, Danny noticed something strange. "Commander Morrison, I am sending you coordinates," Danny said over the encrypted channel. "There is a massive ship hiding on the far side of the moon. It is bigger than anything else in the Krell fleet, and it is heavily protected." Jake pulled up the data Danny had sent. The ship was enormous, easily 5 times the size of a queen ship. What do you think it is? I think it is the command ship, Danny replied. The brain of the entire fleet. If the queen ships control sections of the fleet, this thing controls everything, including the queen ships. Jake felt his pulse quicken. Are you saying if we destroy that ship, the entire Krell fleet loses coordination? All of it. Every ship, every drone, all at once. The implications were staggering. Jake immediately contacted Admiral Clark with the information. The Admiral listened carefully, his expression growing more intense with each word. How certain are you about this? Admiral Clark asked. 90%, sir, Jake replied. Dr. Chen has confirmed the ship's energy signature matches the profile of a central control node. It has to be their command vessel. Admiral Clark was silent for a long moment. If we commit our remaining forces to attack that ship and we are wrong, Earth is defenseless. The Krell will overrun us completely. And if we do nothing, we lose anyway, Jake countered. Sir, this is our chance. Maybe our only chance. The Admiral made his decision. Prepare Operation Last Dawn. Every ship we have left, every fighter, every weapon. We throw everything at that command ship. Morrison, you will lead the fleet personally. Jake felt the weight of the order but did not hesitate. Yes, sir. We launch in 6 hours. Dr. Lisa Chen worked frantically to prepare enhanced resonance devices for the attack fleet. These were more powerful than anything she had built before, designed to target the Krell overmind directly. She had no idea what would happen when they fired, but the theory suggested it would be catastrophic for the Krell. You are going with them? Peter Grant asked, surprised. Someone has to operate the main device, Lisa said. And I designed it. I know it better than anyone. Lisa, you are a scientist, not a soldier. Right now, we are all soldiers. She placed the resonance device into a protective case. If this works, we end the war. If it does not, well, it will not matter where I am when Earth falls. The attack fleet assembled in secret, hidden in the shadow of Earth. Jake had scraped together every functional warship humanity possessed. Cargo haulers with missiles strapped to their hulls, mining ships equipped with drilling lasers, luxury yachts carrying nuclear weapons, and at the center the surviving military vessels, their crews ready to die if necessary. Danny Wright's Phoenix Wing would lead the assault, clearing a path through Krell defenses. Behind them, the main fleet would push toward the command ship, and Jake would be in the first ship to reach it, carrying Dr. Chen and her ultimate weapon. On the ground, Maria Santos received orders to launch a simultaneous offensive against all Krell positions on Earth. The goal was to keep the enemy distracted, preventing them from reinforcing their fleet in orbit. This is it, Maria told her troops. Everything we have, everything we are, goes into this fight. Hold nothing back. Make them remember that humans do not go quietly into the night. The attack began at dawn. Human forces across Earth erupted from their defensive positions, hitting the Krell from all directions. Portable resonance devices scrambled enemy communications. The cold weather sapped alien strength, and human rage, built up over weeks of loss and suffering, was finally unleashed without restraint. In space, the fleet moved toward the moon. Danny's fighters engaged Krell patrol ships, destroying them before they could raise the alarm. The main fleet followed, engines burning at maximum power. Jake stood on the bridge of the flagship watching the Krell command ship grow larger on the screens. It was massive and beautiful in a terrifying way, its organic hull pulsing with light. Around it, hundreds of Krell vessels maintained a protective perimeter. They know we are coming, Gary said, watching the enemy fleet move to intercept. Good, Jake replied. Let them come. Lisa, how long until we are in range? 10 minutes, Lisa said from her station, preparing the resonance device. I need to get within 1 kilometer for maximum effect. You will get your kilometer, Jake promised. Danny's voice crackled over the comm. Multiple Queen ships moving to engage. This is going to get rough. All ships weapons free, Jake ordered. Clear us a path to that command ship. Nothing else matters. The two fleets collided in a storm of fire and fury. Human ships, outmatched and outnumbered, fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. They rammed Krell vessels when ammunition ran out. They flew damaged ships into enemy formations, detonating their reactors. Every sacrifice brought Jake's ship closer to the target. We have lost half the fleet, Gary reported, his voice shaking. Keep going, Jake said grimly. Lisa needs 1 kilometer. Danny's squadron carved through the Krell defenses, losing ships with every second. Kelly Barnes went down fighting, taking 2 Krell fighters with her. Scott Palmer's ship exploded while covering Danny's approach, but they opened the path. "You are clear," Danny shouted. Go now!" Jake's ship burned toward the command ship at full speed. Krell fire hammered their shields. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel. They were dying, but they were close enough. "Range achieved," Lisa shouted. "Firing the resonance device." The weapon activated with power that made reality itself seem to bend. The energy wave struck the Krell overmind directly, tearing through its consciousness like a knife through flesh. For the first time in 10,000 years, the overmind felt something new. It felt pain. The overmind's control over the fleet shattered. Queen ships lost connection to their drones. Drones lost connection to each other. Across the solar system, millions of Krell soldiers suddenly found themselves alone, confused and terrified. The perfect unity of the Dominion had broken. The Krell overmind drifted in darkness, its consciousness fractured by the resonance device. For the first time in its long existence, it was afraid. The humans had done what no other species had ever accomplished. They had hurt the overmind itself, broken its control over the Dominion, and now the humans were destroying its fleet piece by piece. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching the Krell command ship on the main screen. It was still functional, but no longer sending commands to the fleet. Without the overmind's direction, the entire Dominion military machine had ground to a halt. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the command ship," Gary Palmer reported, surprise clear in his voice. "Put it through," Jake ordered. The voice that came through was the same cold, mechanical tone the Krell had used from the beginning. But now there was something different in it. Uncertainty. "Humans of Sol 3, we wish to communicate." Jake glanced at Dr. Lisa Chen, who nodded. "We are listening," Jake replied. "This unit is the Krell overmind. We have controlled the Dominion for 10,000 cycles. In that time, we have conquered 473 worlds. All species either surrendered or were exterminated. You are the first to resist successfully. You are the first to damage this unit. Explain how this is possible." Jake felt a surge of pride and anger. "You want to know why you lost? Because you thought we were weak. You thought we would give up like everyone else. But humans do not surrender. We adapt, we learn, we fight even when we know we might lose. That is what you did not understand." There was silence on the other end. Then the overmind spoke again. "This unit calculates that continued conflict will result in mutual destruction. The fleet is damaged beyond effective combat capability. Your forces are depleted. Neither side can achieve total victory without unacceptable losses." "Is that your way of asking for mercy?" Jake asked coldly. "This unit does not understand mercy. This unit understands survival. We propose negotiation." Admiral Clark's face appeared on a secondary screen, having listened to the conversation. "Morrison, bring me in on this channel." Jake made the connection. Admiral Clark addressed the overmind directly. "I am Admiral Henry Clark, Supreme Commander of Earth's military forces. If you want to negotiate, here are our terms. The Krell will withdraw from the Sol system immediately. All human territories will be evacuated. You will leave behind any prisoners you have taken, and you will never return to human space. These terms are non-negotiable." "And if this unit refuses?" the overmind asked. "Then we destroy your command ship and hunt down every remaining Krell vessel in our system." Admiral Clark replied. "Your fleet is broken. Your drones are scattered. You have nothing left to threaten us with. Accept our terms or die." The overmind processed this information. Its calculations were clear. The humans had proven themselves capable of destroying queen ships and disrupting the hive mind. Without proper coordination, the Dominion could not mount an effective offense. Retreat was the only logical option. "Your terms are acceptable," the overmind said finally. "This unit will order all Krell forces to withdraw. But understand, humans of Sol 3, your actions here will be noted by the galaxy. You have made yourselves known as a warrior species. Other civilizations will learn what you have done to the Krell Dominion." "Good," Jake said. "Let them all know. Humanity will not be conquered." The channel closed. Within hours, Krell ships across the solar system began powering up and leaving human space. Landing craft lifted from Earth, carrying surviving drones back to their vessels. The invasion was over. Captain Danny Wright landed his battered fighter at a temporary base in what remained of New York City. Only 4 ships from Phoenix Wing had survived the final battle. He climbed out of his cockpit and saw ground crews cheering, crying, hugging each other. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had won. Kelly Barnes's face flashed in Danny's mind. She had died in the final assault along with so many others. The victory felt hollow with so many friends gone. But they had saved Earth. That had to mean something. Colonel Maria Santos walked through the ruins of New Chicago, surveying the damage. The city was barely standing. Buildings were collapsed, streets were cratered, and bodies, both human and alien, lay everywhere. The cost of victory was written in every destroyed home and empty street. But people were emerging from the shelters. Survivors looking at the sky, which was finally clear of alien ships. Children who had spent weeks underground saw sunlight again. Maria watched an elderly couple embrace, crying with relief. "We did it," Kyle Davis said quietly, standing beside her. "Yes," Maria replied, "but look at what it cost us. The rebuilding would take years, maybe decades." Earth had been devastated by the war, but Earth was still standing and humans were still alive. That was victory enough. Dr. Lisa Chen sat in her laboratory, exhausted beyond words. The resonance device had worked better than she dared hope. But the weapon frightened her. Humanity now possessed technology that could disrupt neural systems on a massive scale. In the wrong hands, it could be as dangerous to humans as it was to the Krill. Peter Grant brought her the final casualty reports. 20 million dead on Earth alone. Another 5 million in the colonies and fleet actions. 25 million human lives lost in 6 weeks of war. The number was staggering. Was it worth it? Peter asked quietly. Lisa looked at him with tired eyes. "We are alive. Our species survived. The alternative was extinction. So yes, it was worth it. But I will never forget the price we paid." Commander Jake Morrison stood in the ruins of Guardian 1, which had crashed to Earth during the final battles. He had requested to come here to see where it all began. The platform was twisted metal and broken dreams, but it had bought humanity time. Time that made all the difference. Admiral Clark joined him, looking older than his years. "The Planetary Coalition wants to promote you, make you a hero, parade you around to boost morale." Jake shook his head. "I am not a hero, sir. I am just someone who did what needed to be done. The real heroes are the ones who did not come home." "Perhaps," Admiral Clark said. "But we need heroes right now, Morrison. We need people to look up to while we rebuild. You prove that humans can face impossible odds and survive. That matters." "What happens now, sir?" Jake asked. "The Overmind said other civilizations would hear about what happened here. What if someone else decides to attack us?" Admiral Clark looked at the sky, where human ships were already beginning patrol routes. "Then we will be ready. We are building new defense platforms, expanding the fleet, training more soldiers and pilots. Earth learned a hard lesson, but we learned it well. We are not the naive species we were 2 months ago. We are survivors, warriors. And anyone who threatens us will discover what the Krell discovered. Humans do not give up." Danny Wright was reassigned to train new fighter pilots. He stood before a class of young recruits, looking at their eager faces. They had grown up during the war, seen the devastation, and still volunteered to defend Earth. "My name is Commander Danny Wright," he began. "I am going to teach you how to fly, how to fight, and how to survive. But first, I am going to tell you about Phoenix Wing and the people who did not come home. You need to understand what you are volunteering for." He told them about Kelly Barnes, who flew into enemy fire to save her squadron, about Scott Palmer, who detonated his reactor to clear a path for the final assault, about every pilot who gave their life so Earth could survive. "We won the war," Danny said. "But victory is not glory. It is sacrifice, it is loss. It is choosing to stand when every instinct tells you to run. If you cannot accept that, leave now. No shame in it, no one left. Every recruit stayed, ready to become the next generation of Earth's defenders." Maria Santos oversaw the construction of new defensive installations across the former battle zones. Weapons platforms rose from the ruins. Training facilities opened to prepare soldiers for future threats. The Krell invasion had exposed humanity's weaknesses, and those weaknesses would be corrected. Lisa Chen continued her research, but now with resources she had never dreamed of before. The coalition poured funding into xenobiology, weapons development, and space technology. Humanity would never be caught unprepared again. Months passed. Earth healed slowly. Cities were rebuilt. Colonies were reestablished. The human fleet grew larger and more powerful, incorporating lessons learned from the Krell. The resonance device was locked away in secure storage. ready if needed but treated with the respect such a dangerous weapon deserved. Jake Morrison eventually accepted a position as Director of Planetary Defense, coordinating all of Earth's military forces. He worked tirelessly to ensure humanity would survive the next threat, whatever form it took. One day he received a message from an unknown source. When he opened it, he saw a star chart with markers indicating inhabited systems, hundreds of them, and attached to the chart was a simple message. The galaxy has heard of Earth, the species that defeated the Krell Dominion. Some fear you, some respect you, some wish to meet you. Be careful, humans. You have joined a larger universe and it is not always kind to newcomers, but you have proven you can survive. Perhaps that is enough. Jake shared the message with Admiral Clark. What do you think it means, sir? The Admiral studied the star chart carefully.